Good afternoon and welcome to the Central Florida Computer Society Windows Special Interest Group, or the WinSIG, for Sunday, September 11th, 2016. My name is Huey Poplock. I'm in Bradenton, Florida, and we present the Windows SIG for the Central Florida Computer Society every month from our studios, which is my home in Bradenton, and beam it over to the Orlando meeting or Castleberry meeting of the Central Florida Computer Society. So let's get started with today's agenda. We've got, as usual, a lot of items on it. We may not get to all of them, but we'll certainly give it a try. And let's bring up our screen. We're now at the Huey's Views and Reviews. Huey.net is the where we keep our menu and all of the information for the WinSIG. And all you have to do is come over here to WinSIG and click on the current year, which is 2016. You'll see all of the notes. And when you click on the notes for 2016 and pick the right month, which is this month, you'll get the items for the month. If you go back and look at last month's, so let's go over to a different window here. We'll go to last month's. Just so you're aware of this, we will put the recording of this meeting on the page after it's been recorded and uploaded to YouTube, and you'll be able to watch it on the same page after the meeting. So check in a few days and it should be posted if you need to double check on something, or if for one reason or another you don't make one of these meetings, the recordings are posted. So let's go to today's meeting notes, which are here. I will make them a little bit larger. Hopefully you can read them. I am using Windows Edge, the new browser that's part of Windows 10. It's the first time I've used it for one of the meetings. I'm using it more and more because with the anniversary issue, or the anniversary update of Windows 10, they now allow or have the capability of having you add plugins to Edge. And that was one of the reasons I didn't use it, because I do a lot of searching. And when I do, I use the Evernote, and I capture to Evernote. And by doing it with the plugin, I can capture it directly from the browser. And the ability now for me to use Edge to do that is built in, where it wasn't before. So let's get started. I was going to start with a couple of general items, and then we'll jump into some of the Windows 10 updates for the anniversary update. I finally got it on all three of my machines, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. Let's take a look at the first item, which is 9 ways to keep your Windows computers safe. This is for many versions of Windows, not just Windows 10. This is an article from PC World. One thing you have to be careful of when you do PC World, you'll notice on the right there's a video, and it started, and I need to stop it. Otherwise, I hear it in the background. I think I've got it shut off, so you shouldn't have heard it, but I could hear it through my headset. You shouldn't. I don't have that feature turned on for Zoom, which is what we're using. And hopefully you didn't get the voice, but in the background is they like to play videos and automatically start them. I did add the plugin AdBlock Pro, but that doesn't seem to eliminate that. And I'm going to see if there's another way to do that within Edge. Okay, let's take a look at some of these things that you need to do. Number one is you need to have an antivirus. Let's switch this right now to something in Edge that we can do, and that's go into the mode. And I had this problem earlier, and it's things don't always work the way you want them. So I am going to exit and then try to come back into this mode. For whatever reason, it wants to cut out part of the screen. Let's see if it works better now. There it is. And so we can mark up now. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down here to antivirus, and what I'm going to show you here is I am going to do this. This is a feature of Edge. I can mark up the screen to show you things. So the antivirus, there's a large picture that goes here. I believe they are videos, but they're not showing up now. But the antivirus, whenever, make sure you have an antivirus. And what I do want to show you in this article is something called AV test. And I am going to get out of this mode because it's just not working the way I would like it to. And so I'm sorry, but we're not going to save those links. And now we're back. So let's come back down to, there's the antivirus. This happens to be Avira that they're showing, but where it says AV test, it's got to pop up here from, and we're also getting a video. Let's shut that off. What a pain for some of these websites. Okay, the antivirus. But what I want to show you is below the picture of the antivirus, something called AV test. I'm going to tell it to go ahead and open in a new tab. And we'll jump over to the new tab because it's a different link. And this is a rating service, independent rating service of antivirus. And they update this on a regular basis. You might want to bookmark this page and occasionally go to it to see how your antivirus rates. And if it's time for you to update, maybe you might want to change. I happen to use something called EmiSoft on this computer. It's rated fairly well. I know a lot of you use Avast. That's even rated better than what I'm using, and this is the free version. I know Mike uses Kaspersky, and I've used it in the past, and that's the top of the line all the way across. Norton is pretty close to it, as is the AVG is pretty close to the top. And they call it their top. They pick it as a pick. So you can go through that website and take a look at some of the ratings of that. You also want to use some type of a malware scanner. I use Malware Bytes. I highly recommend it. I know a lot of my friends use it as well. You don't have to install it. It is free. There is a paid version as well, but you can use the free version. You can either run it from your computer or you can install it. If you install it, you want to make sure you update it on a regular basis. When you run it, it will ask probably and go out and check and get an update and then run it on your computer. You don't have to turn off your antivirus to use it, and it will check and find it'll find malware if you have any. It also will find pups, which are potentially unwanted programs, some of which you may want to delete, probably most of them. A lot of it is just adware. It's not harmful, but it's just a way that they use to track you. Another thing you want to make sure you have is a firewall, which is number 3. You should have a firewall in your router. If your router doesn't have a firewall and you own the router, then you need to have your own. You also you may want to get a software firewall if your router doesn't have it and your router is provided by your ISP, your service provider. And then you want to make sure, and this shows you how to turn on your firewalls. You also want to make sure you do the updates. Make sure you do your Windows updates and make sure you do your program updates. because these are how you protect your computer. Those updates generally are there to fill in gaps and problems that they've discovered since the last time they updated. And so when there is a security issue, they fix it. And the updates then allow your computer to get those fixes. So make sure you get your updates. Another thing you might want to consider, and you should consider, is you should have an administrator type account, but you should also have a second account in your computer. So when you sign in, you're signing in on a non-administrator, so there's some things that you can't do, like add new programs. And if you want to add a new program, you log out of your person account and then log back in with your administrator account. So you really should keep two separate accounts. If more than one person uses your computer and you already have two accounts, then create a third for yourself because you're the administrator. If you do have, let's say your husband or your wife has the other account, or a child has a second account, you know that when they go to try to install something, if you have not given them administrator privileges, which you shouldn't, not because you don't trust them, but because if anybody gets into their account, they can't do anything with it. And that's the reason you would have a non-administrator account for yourself as well. Your browser needs to be updated. Most browsers update by themselves. You may be able to turn that feature off, but make sure if you do turn that feature off that you update them on a regular basis, because that's where a lot of the security holes are in the browsers, and when they update them, they fix a lot of those security issues. I don't recommend this for beginners, and if you don't know what you're doing, but encryption is another possible way in which you can protect your computer. It does allow it so people can't get to your files. Even if they steal your computer, they can't get to the files. It is a little bit more involved, and a lot of beginners, those of you who are beginners, may not want to get involved with it. But if you do, encryption is another way to protect your system. And passwords. You need a separate password for every website you log into. And each password must be long, strong, and complex. And how do you remember them all? Use a password manager. I use one from IlliumSoft called eWallet, but there are several out there that are very good, fairly inexpensive. There's even some that are free. But what you want to make sure is that they do have, the information is encrypted. You do not want to keep a text list or an Excel spreadsheet or even a piece of paper with all of your passwords written on it, because that's usually right next to your computer. If somebody breaks into your home, steals your computer, and they grab that as well, they have all your passwords. If it's a program that you need a very long password for, and I do have one for mine, you can store all of the files, all of the passwords for all of your programs, all of your websites, and so on in that password manager. And when you need them, you can retrieve them. So, and don't use the same password on several sites, because if they get it to one, they get it to all, and especially if you have a website that you use a password on and an email address with the same password, because you register with that email address probably to that site, they now, the possibility is that they can change and get your email password. And of course, your email probably has a good filter, but it's not perfect. And there's some ways that mail can get through. And there's a link there to how to identify emails That's something you might want to take a look at as well to protect yourselves. I know you're saying, well, I'll do it later. Don't do it later. That's important. You got to do it when you're going through these items. We did do the 9 ways to keep your Windows safe. And how to use Google search tools. Again, we're on PC World, so that video is probably going to try to come up. But let's take a look at Google. On the search tools, some of the things that you want to do to get to the search tools, if you go to Google, let's bring up Google. You go to Google, hopefully you're seeing that. If you go to Google, let's minimize the other just in case. No, that should be fine. You go to Google and you just click in here, or just click the box, you will get this screen. You'll see up here is search tools. When you click that, you got anytime, and that's a drop down. So you can search anything that was posted in the last half hour, last hour, 24 hours, by time range, in other words. So if you're looking for something that should be fairly recent, you can eliminate a lot of the older stuff by clicking that. If you want to look at all results, or if you want verbatim, verbatim means exactly the way you put the phrase in. So if you put a phrase in, Google will actually go out and find each word and utilize each word. But if you click verbatim, it will only find the words like start of 2016 Paralympics. That's what it's finding. That has to be in the website for it to find it. And then we can hit clear, and it goes back to all of the results. So you can see lots more information. So using the search tools, you can isolate and have fewer but more centralized or more centered results. So let's go back to here. So those are the search tools verbatim. Sometimes you have to insist when you want to use a certain search term on Google. If you're searching for a strange computer error, you want to see the results that had the exact phrase of that error and little else. And so by doing it that way, by clicking verbatim. So those are a couple of the search tools that you might want to utilize when you're using Google. Okay, hopefully you're saying all of these things correctly. And now let's go to why your USB drive. Let's make sure that this is minimized. That should be minimized. Hopefully you're saying what I'm saying. Okay. Some of you, when you buy a USB stick or a USB or one of the SD cards, it's already formatted. We need to take this video and stop it. Come on. There we go. We want to stop that. There's a video on this page that explains what I'm going to talk about very quickly. But why your USB drive format matters, whether it should be FAT32 versus exFAT or NTFS. Your USB drive isn't slow because you have too much stuff on it. It's slow because it uses slow storage format like FAT32 or an exFAT. You can reformat it to NTFS to get faster write times, but there's a catch. Sometimes if you're moving it from a PC to a Mac, the Mac won't read NTFS. And some of the older computers may not read NTFS. So I leave mine at the 32-bit, the FAT32. However, they recommend in this article that you should use the exFAT 32, which is an updated version of it. and Apple does recognize it. I just leave it at the 32 and just live with the speeds. But if you want it a little bit faster, I recommend the exFAT. If you're only using it for for particular Windows computers, and all of them recognize NTFS, that would be your faster way of formatting your USB stick or an SD card or an SSD. Okay, so let's close that article. And we'll look at all the coolest features of the Windows 10. Anniversary update that came out on August 2nd. It took me several weeks of it not showing up. I had to go in and manually upgrade all 3 of my computers. None of them went to where it was ready to do the automatic update or told me that the update was available. Although all 3 of them were up to date in their Windows 10 fall update, everything was was current. It still would never come up, and so I manually went in, downloaded the file, and did the update from the anniversary update file that you can download for free. Okay, Cortana is way smarter and can talk to Android and Windows Phone. I don't use Cortana. I'm not going to talk a lot about Cortana. If you're on Android, Android has a talking assistant. The Amazon has the Alexa. The iOS has their version. And so there are plenty of different ways to do it. I just don't use my computer that way where I need to do the voice. I have the microphone on my headset, and I have my headset plugged in all the time, and I don't always have it on. So the microphone isn't available for me to access, nor could I hear Cortana on my main computer. Now, on my laptop, I really don't need it, and on my Surface, I use it when I go out a lot, so I really don't want to have it any volume or any noise when I'm sitting at a restaurant, for instance, and looking at websites or doing something. I don't want to use Cortana anyway, so I don't use it. If you do, and it's pretty useful to you, then you want to take a look at some of the features that they've added to it and how they have improved it. If you are using Task View, managing multiple desktops is a lot easier. I'm not going to get into that. I could spend an entire meeting talking about Task View. I've talked about it in the past. I use it occasionally. I don't use it as much as I did, and I should, because a lot of times I have a lot of open windows, and now that some can be forced on all of the windows when I go back and forth, the ones I really need can be available, which is a nice feature. Now, your calendar is now integrated with the taskbar. I happen to use Google Calendar. The reason I use Google Calendar, it just is so much easier for Robin and I to exchange and keep the same calendar, so we have this same information at hand on our iPads and our iPhones, but we also have it on our computers. She uses the laptop, I use the desktop, or I use the Surface. And if I want to get to the calendar on any of those items, I want the same information, and when I enter it on one, I want it to be on all of them. I don't have to go out and do any special syncing or connecting and disconnecting and so on. So I'm using the Google Calendar, and then I've integrated it with my Office, with my Outlook and with all of my Windows machines. So if I go down here to the calendar and click on calendar, you will see, let's take today, which is the 11th. You will see today I have scheduled a CFCS Windows SIG and also WordCamp in Tampa. And by the way, I'm at WordCamp in Tampa. I pre-recorded this meeting. Apologize that I'm not live, so I can't answer your questions live. But I'm at the WordCamp, but that's the schedule. So I can look on here, and I'm still seeing my Google Calendar. I can go to my iPad, and the same calendar is there. Robin can open it at work. The calendar, and actually we use a small an app on our iPads and iPhones called Tiny Calendar, which makes it even easier to connect to our Google calendars. You can customize the Action Center with notifications and settings you really need. The Action Center is this. When you open it, you have items here in the Action Center. And then you have settings down here, some items, and you can change those. I think in the next video, you're going to see, I'm going to sneeze, so I'm going to try to. I muted the sneeze, I hope. Sorry about that. We'll see a better view of this, but you can turn on and off items that you want to show up on your action bar down here at the bottom. And when you click on some of those, for instance, if you want to set your quiet hours, you can turn them on, you can turn them off right from this area. If I want to go to airplane mode, if I do it, it's going to disconnect us, so I'm certainly not going to do that. But you can turn these things on and off directly from your Action Center. And you can have active hours. Have you ever been doing something and working on your computer and all of a sudden it interrupts because it wants to do an update? Well, you can set certain hours to do the updates and tell it not to do any updates, say during the night, or you can set it so it only does it during the night and doesn't do it during your work hours. So while you're working or you're doing a presentation, it's not automatically going to want to do an update. There's a dark themes that you can now do. I don't like dark themes, but if you do, you can then, instead of having a white background or a light background, you can have a dark background with lighter foregrounds and so on. And it tells you how you can do that. And then there's some new items for hardcore users and advanced users dealing with something called the bash shell. I don't use it. Let's see, and as I mentioned earlier, Microsoft Edge now has extensions. It also has on-demand flash and some other items as well. So they've improved the Edge browser considerably, and it talks about that in this article as well. The SmartUnlock logs you in your computer with your phone or wearable device. I looked at and did some searching on this. It doesn't do it from the iPhone, and I don't think it does it from, I think that has the ability to do it, but I'm not sure if there's any phones out there, except maybe some Windows phones, that you're going to be able to do this with, and maybe some wearable devices that will talk to Windows. But most phones aren't going to be able to do this at this point. Perhaps those will be added later. Okay, that's it for that article. Now let's look at some 10 new tricks of Windows 10. And these are some that you must try. The Windows 10 was updated. Okay, change the audio device from the taskbar. This is a new feature. I don't know if any of you have ever had the problem where when you're trying to do something with your microphone, it was the wrong microphone. It was one that was on your webcam and you wanted the one on your headset, or vice versa. Or it's using a different, if you're using a laptop, it's using the built-in one rather than the one you plugged in. Well, now you can come down to your sound icon in your taskbar down at the bottom. Hopefully you can see this. And when I click on it, you can see there is now an up button or an up arrow. When I click on it, it shows me what playback devices are available, either the speakers through the audio device or the Intel one, and right now it's on that. So it's a way in which you can change your devices, so the audio device, directly from the taskbar, which you could not do before. You can enable the dark theme and the title color bar, which I mentioned in the last website, last link. And this is the screen where you can turn them on and off and change it from dark, and just click on light and you can be back to the way I keep mine. And there's 5 dark themes for Windows that you can get. Now there's access to redesigned emojis. You can show the emoji by hitting the keyboard button if you have the keyboard. You may not have a touch keyboard. You may not have it turned on. But if you have it turned on, it'll show up in your taskbar. When you click on it, it looks like this, and I can click and either use my mouse, or I have a touch screen, I can touch it. But if I come down here to the emojis, and there they all are. And there's multiple screens of them. And there's an arrow here that allows me to go through those screens for each of the topics. I've reached the end of that one. I can go to transportation. We've got all of those. We've got all of those, and so on. So you can pick any of those to put in your emails, into your documents, and so on. And that's how you get to them, through the keyboard, software keyboard. I mentioned earlier that you can show a window across all the desktops using the task view. And this tells you how to do that, what it looks like. You can view your agenda from the taskbar. Again, when you click the time, it's down here at the bottom. When you find today's date, there's my agenda for today, and you can hide that if you want, or you can show it. I mentioned you can set the Windows active hours, and this is the window that you do it with. You can have a start time. You check to see if you're using the device before attempting to restart. And it'll tell you what time you can end, and those are the active hours when a restart is necessary to finish installing. We won't automatically restart your device during these active hours. So set the time in which you're using your computer, and then leave it on after that so the updates can take place. Enable periodic Windows Defender scanning, and what you have to do is turn that on. And if you want to reinstall Windows 10 to remove the bloatware, you can, Windows does give you the ability. When you do that, it doesn't delete any of your data, but it does reinstall Windows 10, and all of your non-Windows programs will not be installed. So you're going to have to then reinstall anything that you use. But if you got a lot of programs you don't use anymore, it's one way to eliminate them instead of uninstalling them one at a time. However, that you're going to have to make sure you know the keys, have the keys to all of the programs, although some will remember and will remember they were installed on your computer, and you don't have to re-key them. Some you may. But it is a way, if things aren't working with your computer or you have a lot of programs that just, you need to clean it out, you can do it now with the Windows 10 itself. And I did a video that's on my website telling you how to create a recovery USB drive, stick drive, and in order to, and you can do it from that, and which would be a much better way to do it. So make sure you see that video and remember where you found it and go back to it when you need it. And then you can use Cortana on the lock screen, which I don't use Cortana, so I can't talk to you about that, but it does tell you how to do that in this article. It's just a matter of turning it on and telling it you can use it in your lock screen. And then there's some accessibility improvements where you can do the narrator, you can adjust the speed, the pitch, the intonation pauses, and so on. And you can do that from the settings key and then go to the ease of access and then to narrator, and you can actually have your computer read to you and adjust the speed, pitch, and the pauses. Okay, that's that article. Windows 10, best tricks, tips, and tweaks. Back to PC World, so we need to make sure that video doesn't start. This is a slideshow, so we're going to have to go through the various slides. And we're going to dig in here. So let's get to where we can change the slide. Go to next. You can shop with Edge. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller and see if we can get the other. Well, can't do it that way. Okay, you can shop with Edge, but basically what they're saying is, we're going to have some ads in your browser now. So I don't like that, but you can put some extensions in to be able to browse and have some ads come up. I don't recommend that. Okay, this item is your activation troubleshooter. If you have problems activating your Windows, the anniversary update added a killer feature for do-it-yourself types, the ability to tie your Windows 10 license to your account rather than your PC's hardware. So if you have a problem and you're going to change the motherboard and some other things, you can change your account to be tied to your Microsoft account and not to the computer. So you can make changes in the computer without it saying, hey, wait a minute, you're not activated anymore. The dark theme, why they keep all of these articles talk about the dark theme, I guess they need something to fill, and I guess maybe some people like the dark theme. I just don't. We talked about the calendar, embracing a calendar, and so as we say, you can have your agenda on there. I've showed you that. You can make Cortana work better and perk her ears up. And Cortana can handle some all kinds of commands. We're not going to spend a lot of time on that. And you can muzzle Cortana as well. If you don't want it, this tells you how to just make it so she doesn't work at all. Okay, customize your start menu. And I've talked about this in previous meetings. You can make the start menu your own. You can take items off, put them on, add them. The screen changed a little bit. Let's go ahead and bring up my start screen. You'll notice that now The shut off and power is down in the lower left. The settings is always there. The File Explorer is always there. And then my account, and I can click on that so I can log off. So all of those items now are always available for you on the Start menu. For those of you who like to go back to your DOS days or are power users and use command prompt, there's more tools that have been added to the command prompt. Before you could do, you couldn't use Control-C and Control-V, in other words, copy and paste. You can now, and you can activate some other goodies. You can change the cursor size. You can change the buffers, and you can put it in quick edit mode. You can have the insert mode available. You can enable the control key shortcuts, extend the text selection keys, enable line wrapping selection. So there's several things that you can do now. Simply turning on and off, and you can go into the fonts, change your fonts, the layout, and even in colors with the setup for your command prompts. If you're an advanced user and are familiar with Bash, it's not something I use, but you're able to use it now with this latest version, the anniversary update of Windows 10. Auto source switching, I mentioned that. Audio source, not auto. Audio source, I showed you that already. Speakers and headphones. It's for your audio sound, the output, not your input. I mentioned earlier the microphone, and that doesn't have anything to do with the microphone. They also have Find My Device. Windows isn't on the desktop. You can find your device. However, I looked up some of this, and apparently it's some IoT or Internet of Things devices. It really won't do anything. It may do like a laptop computer, but for the most part, unless you're using some of the IoT stuff, it doesn't mean to find your phone or a tablet, that sort of thing, at least at this point in the game. You can install Windows Store apps on USB drives now, on SD cards, a thumb drive or an SD card, which you couldn't do before. You can turn off File Explorer's Quick Access View. I found this to be, by reading this article, I found this and was not aware of it. But if we go ahead and open up my File Explorer, let's minimize this. And we got File Explorer here. And what I want to do is, if you'll notice over here where my quick access is, if I want to go down to this PC, I've got to come way down here, or a lot of times come way down here if I don't see this one quickly. But what we can do now is, this article is saying, is we can go to the settings for this. Let's bring the article back. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go to the folder options. And so what we have to do is open File Explorer, then click on the view. So let's minimize this again. We're going to go to view. And over here under options, click on it. You see it says change folder options and search options. I get this window. I'm sorry I can't make it bigger, I don't think. No. And then where it says quick access in here, I change that to this PC. Oops, come on, change. And then say apply and OK. Now when I close this and then reopen it, you'll notice it goes right to this PC down here at the bottom. And it doesn't have me go through all of these things to get down here to the bottom to this PC. If I go to the one up here at the top, yeah, it won't even let me do it here. Let's see. Here we go. If I click on this one, it only allows me to see it here, but it doesn't list anything under it where I can, when it does come to this, I see everything that's under it. It's on here on the screen. So I can click on documents and go right to it from here. So that's something new in Windows 10, the anniversary update. So that's something you might want to change your settings on. You can cast videos to your TV and more. You can beam a video to your TV. You can open it in Edge and then click on the 3 horizontal bars right here. And a drop-down menu occurs. I don't think that's what they want. I think they want the 3 dots. Yep. Notice it says cast media to the device. And when I open it, it says direct. When I did it earlier, it said it saw my Roku. It's not seeing it now for whatever reason, or it's not working right now. So if you've got a device that it will go to cast to, it will do it. Come back to our article, hopefully. Okay, we'll come here. And then back to the article. Hopefully you're seeing all of these screens as I'm changing. You can move windows between virtual desktops. You could do that before, but it's a little bit easier now. And that's if you're using the task view. And then you can also, and I mentioned this earlier, you can schedule your restarts. No, I talked about the fact that you can tell it that you can't do a restart while you're working on it. In other words, you can say you have busy hours and those you shouldn't do restart. But if you've got updates and they're scheduled to be installed, you can then click and set up a time to have them installed. Make sure your computer is on when you tell it you want it installed at that time. It will not install updates if your computer is not on. Duh. But it doesn't. And you can seize control of the Windows updates, and I mentioned that earlier for the active hours. And also how they're delivered. Updates from more than one place. The Windows Update upgrades don't end there. Windows Update introduces a new option that lets you download updates using peer-to-peer technology. So you don't have to get it just from Microsoft. There are some ways to get some updates. Be careful with that. If you don't know what you're doing, you really shouldn't do it. But you might be able to get updates from, let's say you've downloaded it to another one of your PCs on your network, and you want to install to 2 or 3 computers on your own network. You can download it once and then update from that one place using this feature. You can record a video of an app. So like I'm recording this meeting, if you're running any kind of a program and you want to say, well, I want to show somebody how I'm doing this particular activity, you can do it using Windows. You don't have to go out and buy a third-party program. I happen to use something called Snagit, and I've got some other things that will do it as well. But what it says here is what you want to use is the game DVR, or digital video recorder, and it's to be used for recording of video evidence of your most glorious gaming moments. But it actually will let you create videos of any open app or desktop software, though not OS level areas like File Explorer or the desktop. To summon it, simply press the Windows key and G. A prompt will come up and say, do you want to open the game bar? Lie your butt off, it says. In other words, say, yeah, this is a game box. And the various options will appear in a floating bar. Simply click the circular record button to capture a video. You can find your saved videos in the game DVR section of the Xbox app or inside your user folder under videos and then captures. And they also have a guide to that feature if you click on the link there. And then some fresh keyboard shortcuts, and you can get the guide to Windows 10 keyboard shortcuts or the Windows 10 new keyboard touchpad gestures from PC Magazine by clicking on those links in this article. Okay, 12 obscure new Windows 10 features. Back to PC World again. These are some features that not everybody might be talking about, and some of them might be some that we talked about before, and we'll just kind of go through those. So let's take a look to see what we've got. First of all, you can print as a PDF now as part of Windows. You don't have to get a third-party program like QFT PDF. Let's take a look at what I mean. Let's take this page, for instance, a page, and we want to print it. I click print. Notice my printer is up here, but if I do the drop down, one of the choices is Microsoft Print to PDF now. I have other programs that also print to PDFs, but if I want to just use the one that's built into Windows, all I have to do is click on the print to PDF, and it will give me information on where to put it, what I want to call it, and so on, and allow me to create a PDF from anything that's printable from your computer. So it's another print driver. It's a printer. Background scrolling. One of the Windows long-standing frustrations was if you hovered your mouse cursor over a window and tried to use the scroll wheel, nothing happened. The program wasn't currently active, even if you could see it. They've changed that now. You can turn that on. Scroll inactive windows when I hover over them. So you can do that now in Windows 10 if you have the anniversary update. Natural language search using Cortana's digital assistant. You can say, find my PowerPoints or show me the last document I opened. You can get a per monitor display scaling. So each monitor can have a different scale. Windows 10 apparently, the earlier versions of Windows 10 didn't allow you to do that. If you have multiple windows or multiple monitors. Wi-Fi sense allows you, it's a carryover from Windows Phone 8.1. It takes the hassle out of using Wi-Fi on the run. Windows Wi-Fi Sense can automatically connect you to open hotspots as well as to Wi-Fi networks your Facebook, Skype, or Outlook contacts have accessed. You never need to touch a password, and everything is handled using encrypted connections. Not sure. I'd want to do some research before I started using that just to make sure I'm protecting myself. OneDrive fetch returns This has to do with OneDrive and the fact that with Windows 10, what Microsoft did was they turned off the ability where all you had to you could have just pointers in Windows 10 to point to OneDrive files. Prior to that, you couldn't, I'm sorry, they turned that feature off. Prior to that, you could do something like that. In Windows 10, you had to have a copy on Windows 10 and on OneDrive. If you delete it from your hard drive, it would also disappear from OneDrive. And so if you had a lot of files in a small hard drive, you were filling up that hard drive a lot with what you were storing on OneDrive, which to me was taking away some of the purpose of having the files shared in the cloud or stored in the cloud. So what they are allowing you to do is to have pointer files. You get really a file name on your hard drive, and when you want to open it, and it downloads that file, and then allows you to access it. So you don't have to have all of the files that are on OneDrive on your hard drive. They've finally fixed that issue. There's a battery save mode, and I haven't played with that, but you might want to take a look at that. The command prompt tools I mentioned in one of the last articles, or one of the previous ones, and we talked about the file explorers, variable location starts, side loading Windows apps. We mentioned that, where you can actually load them from another computer on your network that you have access to, and so on. And the video recording, that's what the video recorder looks like, what you're seeing in the little box right here. And this is the record button. If it's red, that means you're recording, and you can stop the recording at any time. Remember, it doesn't work with the operating system, but it does work with apps and programs. Easy previous version access. File history has replaced Windows Backup and Windows 8, and Windows 10 makes one of its better features, version histories for files you've altered, even more accessible. Once you've set up file history, you got to set it up. You can right-click on any file, select properties, and open to previous versions. So if you installed a new version and it's not working right, you can go back to an older version. But wait, there's more, and then there's some more links. So that's it for that article. "16 Windows anniversary update issues and how to fix them" is the next article. With the Windows 10 free upgrade now expired, Microsoft has released the latest major update, and we've been talking about it. There's I believe that's a video, yeah, and we're not going to watch the video, but what we want to do is look, apps repinned to the taskbar. While the anniversary update referred us to the anniversary update, we're going to call it AU, promises it won't change any of your stuff around, you'll find that Microsoft Edge, the File Explorer, and the Windows Store shortcuts are pinned back to your taskbar. And after installing, if you don't want them, just right-click their icons and choose the unpin. So if they're down here and you don't want them, I'll just take something else because I've already done that. But if you right mouse click, you can unpin it from the taskbar, and it's there. You're not uninstalling it. You're not uninstalling it. You're simply unpinning it. Your default apps reset. Along with the extra apps on the taskbar, the anniversary update resets some of your default apps. So to the Microsoft recommended programs like Groove Music for audio files. To put these back, navigate to Settings, System, and Default Apps, and choose whatever you'd like. So again, you'll go to here, we'll go to Settings, we'll go to System and Default Apps, and what you may see is your video player or your music player might have been defaults to Groove. You might want to change it. The web browser will probably go back to Edge, and you might want to change it to whatever you want for your default. So that's how you change it. Get them back to the way you were watching them, using them before. Extra ads on the Start menu. To be honest with you, I've not had any ads on the Start menu, so I've not taken a look at this or done much with it. But I'm not sure why I'm not getting ads on the Start menu. But if I start getting them, I will take a look at this item and see how to get rid of them. The Skype preview is installed and signs you in. So be careful if you're, once Skype starts, it's live and people think you're online with Skype. You'll hear some strange noise come out of your speakers because somebody's trying to call you on Skype. But what you want to do is make sure you quit Skype and that you mark each time you open it, and you might even want to tell it when you close it not to stay open. Drive partitions missing. You might, one of the worst AU issues is that Windows doesn't show partitions on the hard drive correctly at times. There's a chance that Windows detects a drive as a raw format instead of NTFS. Hopefully this will be fixed soon. And there are some partition assistants that you can make sure. Most of you will never know that you're having that issue except if you try to get to something and can't. If you have an update error 0x8024200D, you want to read this and it will tell you what to do. Storage areas, errors. If you're low on disk space, try to run the update. You might get an error telling you that you need more space, and then follow our tips to clean up the disk space. I had to do that on my Surface because my Surface only has a 64 gigabyte drive. That's it. I do have a USB, or I'm sorry, an SD card in it, but it doesn't recognize that as a place to. It doesn't help me as far as installing programs, and so what I had to do was really clean up to get it was recommended that you had 20 gigabytes free space. When you only start out with 64, including the current operating system, there's not a lot of extra room to delete stuff. And so my Surface 3 is in essence quite small. It was a smaller one, but at the time it was the only one that had LTE access. And so that's the one I bought. I wanted the 128, which would have worked better. Incompatible software error. Windows might tell you that an application on your PC is incompatible with the upgrade. This blocks the system from updating. Usually this is caused by an antivirus program, so you may have to uninstall it and then do the reinstall, and you should be okay. If Windows doesn't activate, there are some things that you can do to activate it. And if the update clashes with AeroGlass, there is some ways to fix that item as well. And you can force to disable the lock screen. It tells you how to do it in this article as well. And if you want to, you can even remove Cortana. I wouldn't recommend it. Somewhere along the way you may want to use it. You just want to not use it and just turn it off. Don't uninstall it. And if it's missing, this is what you can do to try to get it resolved and get it back. I had problems with my Surface when I updated from 8.1 to 10, Cortana was missing. as well as a couple other features. And what we had to do is do the recovery and go in and do a complete install and leave the data, and then I had to reinstall all the programs I had, and it installed properly. So that can happen. If Cortana is not working, you may have had an update issue. If games run poorly, you're experiencing low frame rate in some games. After updating, try turning off the game bar DVR feature by navigating to a registry. You have to do it through a registry. So for those of you who don't know how to do that, I don't recommend you getting into the registry. Unreadable clock font, there's a fix for that. The Start menu and Explorer freezing, there are some ways to fix that as well. And so with the new update, there's new issues. And thank you for joining us. We'll see you next month. Have a good month. And Glenn, have a good meeting. Bye, folks.